And hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wartburg Infusion Entertainment Review. It's way for number 18. We're talking a whole lot of just DC putting their foot in it, Anthony Mackie putting his foot in it, and then also we got some Loki spoilers and theories to discuss. We got some E3 things to hash out, and if you've been keeping up on Star Wars, little Bad Batch reactions to get through. We got a whole lot of stuff to get talking about, but it has been 2 weeks since number 17, where we talked about A Quiet Place 2 with our buddy Joey. Fusion, what have you been up to in the couple of weeks since last week's podcast or the last podcast?
Let's see here. I rewatched season one of Ted Lasso. My wife jumped into it, and it's funny because, you know, she doesn't like British comedies too much, just because it's not even the humor. It's not anything like that. It's just when you're knee deep in that English accent, it can kind of be overwhelming sometimes for some people. Apparently, I don't know. For me, I'm good. But she got into it really fast and she liked it. So I rewatched it, and God, it's just so good. Jason Sudeikis is so great in that show, man. And when you ended and you're just like, okay, like they've said that the goal is to have this 3 seasons, and we've talked about this. Obviously, season one they end having to get regulated. Season two, they're going to get back into the Premier League, right? Is that what they're in, Premier
Yeah.
League? Okay. The goal is to win and get back in there. And the season three is obviously let's win it all, right? Major League style. Let's just fucking win the whole goddamn thing, right? That's what's gonna happen. Well, I mean, I I have no problem with this show being 3 seasons, then, if that's the case, because we're gonna get the final payoff and it's gonna be sweet. I know
Mhm.
some people just like the shows just never end. I'm not one of those. Breaking Bad, one of my favorite shows, ended in 5 seasons, and I thought the fifth season, well, technically six if you count five splitting up in two. Sopranos did the same thing, regardless of the weird ending for people. Better Call Saul is ending this season, and it's supposed to be really, really good. And I'm one of those guys where it's like, hey, if you tell your story from beginning and it makes sense, whether it's 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 8 seasons, I'm good with it. I don't really care how long it is. Um, but if you have to just keep going on, and you love Supernatural, it was around forever.
Yeah.
Was there a law of diminishing return for that show because it went on for 15 seasons?
It it took a little bit for it to change from the Kripke arc, which, by the way, if it had ended at the end of season 5,
Yeah.
we're talking about Supernatural in the level, not quite a Breaking Bad level, but like the tier under, but like
Okay.
because it was fucking stellar, like it was amazing. But then it took them a little bit to shift into, oh yeah, we can just do something new every year. We don't like fuck it. And then they still found a way to wrap it up really nice with the whole, hey, now we gotta actually like fight God arc. Like that was pretty fun. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was definitely hit or miss season to season
Yeah.
compared to a concise serialized story.
Okay. Well, and I'm one of like I said, I'm one of those guys where as long as you tell your story right, it doesn't matter how long it takes. But at the same time, if a show is just dragging on just because of, corporate, the studio, not a big fan of that. But I enjoy Ted Lasso. I'm going to enjoy season two here in a couple weeks. I've been just playing a little Rust. Hoping at one point, and maybe eventually you can get back on Warzone. I know you've been having trouble with that. We can get that started
Hmm.
because I know Chris is chomping at the bit to play John McClane and Rambo. So we want to jump in on the '80s action heroes, and catching up on comic books. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that. But dipping into the last 18 months of comics, I will tell you a lot's changed in terms of like the comic style. It's gone back, especially Marvel, lesser DC, more Marvel. It's gone back to the old school storytelling and art style rather than this weird avant-garde approach they had for it for a while, like the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years. But this whole Age of X thing, Dawn of X storyline that they
I
have
heard
going
that
on,
went fucking crazy this week.
it went nuts, man. It's been interesting, man. I will tell you, it's been fun to see them go a little old school, but at the same time, that's just Jonathan Hickman has basically taken what Jeff Johns did at DC and just kind of like, I'm gonna take your the group that made Marvel a ton of money decades ago and make them relevant again in the Marvel universe. Because over the last, I would say before this, they kind of tailed off because you think about it, the casual moviegoer doesn't know a whole lot about the X-Men outside of the films, right? And if they didn't read the comics as a kid, they really weren't pulled towards it. And that's the problem I had and we've talked about this, where a lot of the comics would end up being stylized closer to movies after they release. Well, it looks like Marvel's done with that. They're like, hey, we're gonna make the comic books just be outside material because hey, we may create great stories to put in these movies down the road, rather than kind of pushing everything towards how the movies are stylized, and that's a good thing. But I've been doing that, catching up on comics, playing little games, but mostly that. Ted Lasso, Loki, and Bad Batch. Man, I can't wait to talk about those two because there's a lot to open up about that.
Hmm.
Both of them. Yeah.
I'm very happy with it, and I've also been happy reading a whole lot of coverage about Loki because they're all
Oh yeah.
bringing up Legends of Tomorrow, and I fucking love that show.
I saw an article about that on Wednesday night, and I knew you were going to bring this up because that's the first thing I opened up. Like I was like, okay, let's see the reviews on Loki episode 2, and then boom, Legends of Tomorrow comparison, but rightfully so. I'm like, okay, all right, let's do
Dude,
this. Okay,
Legends of Tomorrow. If anyone's coming into this episode early and is going to bounce, watch Legends of Tomorrow. It's not as high budget because it's the CW, but holy shit, it's a comedy like time travel show with superheroes.
it didn't start off that way. Remember, it
It
didn't. It was
didn't.
very serious the first 2 seasons.
Well, no. First, like half a season. And then they were
Yeah,
like, "Okay, this is fucking stupid.
yeah,
It's a farce." And they still managed to tell some really heartfelt stories, but there's a lot of similarities, like kind of shockingly so. And I think that kind of indicates a little bit about where they're going with Loki, because I can kind of tell some of the cues they took, like not directly from Legends, because it's not like Legends is all that original anyway. No, most stories aren't. They all take cues from something, but like
sure.
especially in comic books, like DC and Marvel have fed off each other for decades. So like, who's to say where beyond like, yeah, like Darkseid did actually come before Thanos, kind of like stuff. Who's to
Sure.
say where ideas come from? But and that was because the whole Jack Kirby getting fucked over thing, which is a whole interesting thing. How the fourth world, that whole fourth world Jack Kirby saga, how that happened
Oh yeah,
is insane compared to what he was doing at Marvel and like why he went over to DC. Like, fuck, it's crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, like there's a lot of comparison between the two, and for good reason. Both shows are different, but and I think Loki's probably it's a tighter show. It's only going to be the 4 episodes.
I thought it was 5 or 6. I think. Are you sure? I thought it was 5 or 6. No, I have to look it up.
Well, that was 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's going to be 5.
Okay.
It's done before Black Widow,
Yeah.
so it's going to be
Yes. That's
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like, and obviously Legends is now in its 6th season.
Seventh season.
Yeah, and with a way bigger cast. Like Legends is nuts in the cast. This is a very tighter show that's all focused on a fan favorite character, but
Yeah.
is still telling a lot of themes about like free will, determinism. Like, what can an organization that like controls time be good?
Yeah.
Can it, or is it inherently bad to control
Sure.
time? Like, so that's a theme across just time travel stories in general. Anytime you have like a time like authority type, uh, institution, and it's just that it's happened to airing contemporaneously that it's getting compared to Legends. But I've been very happy as a Legends fan to see those comparisons.
Well, I will jump in as the elder statesman of this show and say, if we're going to compare who did it first, obviously Bill and Ted did with the elders of the future. That's where these shows got their ideas from. Come on, let's be real.
Well, I
It's
mean, all
going.
the time travel stuff goes back to the French. And what is that shit? What is that novel that they? It was like a French novel. That's what spawned 12 Monkeys. Was this original like time travel sci-fi stuff?
You're gonna have to help me on that one.
It's a short novella from I want to say the 30s.
Okay.
Fuck. It's like post like dawn of sci-fi novels, but it's one of the first that like actually dealt with the mechanics of time travel, not just and he time traveled. Like,
Yeah.
it's that for one of the first stories that delved in that. Like, so like in regards to sci-fi, it's still technically probably one of the newer ones because we've been doing aliens and space battles and stuff since like the dawn of sci-fi.
Sure,
The
sure.
old Ray Bradbury, Ed Burroughs. Ed Burroughs would have been the beginning, and then Bradbury.
Well,
We've been
don't
doing
forget,
that.
you can't talk about. I mean, you have to think about 1895. H.G. Wells' Time Machine. That's where we got the
That's
concept of
true.
the Morlock.
That's true as
Come on.
well.
Tribute Marvel paid tribute homage to his Morlocks by creating the characters in the X-Men series.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was like I said, late 1800s. Damn near the new century.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, still, I mean, it's a concept that's been written about for a long time. When sci-fi
Yeah.
became a thing way back then. But just I think, like you said, the authoritative approach to these storytelling, like putting someone or some entity is in charge of things. It's like, Are they good or are they inherently evil because of what they do? Like, and I get that, man. I really do.
Yeah.
I like. I mean, Tom Hiddleston. He's an amazing
Dude,
actor.
him
He
and Owen
carries.
Wilson are a pair I never would have like, oh, I want to see that pair.
Yeah,
But they fucking work.
yeah. Like, okay, so you have Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie, which became a weird duo just out of their comedy in Civil War, right?
Yeah.
This was, this wasn't even really the comedy between the two. It was the engagement, the dialogue between the two, and it just, you forget because he plays so many comedic roles, but Wilson has really good depth with this character, really, really good depth. And in episode 2, there's some things that are leading to have you think, how is this going to end? In episode 5, obviously you're going to be like, okay, there's going to be some things because there's a few callbacks we're going to hear, we're going to remember, like the jet ski and all that stuff. We'll
Yes.
probably.
But
I'm sure
before
that'll
we
come.
get into that, we got
Yeah.
some stuff to talk about. And the big
Well,
one.
you didn't even talk about what you've been doing lately, man.
Oh,
What
what
have you
I've been
been up
doing. Of course, Loki and Bad Batch. I tried watching Inside Bo Burnham's. I got halfway through and I was like, well, I mean, it's all right, and then I just turned it off. It just wasn't engaging me. There was some great like bits in it, like great individual like songs, but which is really like his thing. But other than that, it didn't grab me. I know some people really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't for me. Of course, we had the week of E3. We had so much E3 news come out. I'm trying to think, what else have I like actually been watching? I've been meaning to get back and start Picard, but I'll wait till that's closer to season 2 dropping because that teaser was awesome. Get John Delancey's Q coming back, fantastic. But I've been wrapping up Mass Effect 3. I'm like 2 hours from the end.
Okay.
So then I'll be done with the trilogy, and then I gotta actually DM Jackie and be like, "Hey, yo, one-off podcast. We'll record it whenever, and then put it out when there's a hole in the podcast schedule." But that'll be a fun one because I think we're gonna rank the squad members, like all the squad members. I have a feeling who she's gonna put number 1. But.
Okay, you got to do I think we know where that's going to land. But here's the best one. You got to do the ranking, but then also do a surprise her with an MFK, a Mary F.
Oh,
Kill.
okay.
But Garrus cannot be on that list.
Yeah, he's not on. You can't throw him in there.
Yeah, you can't throw him in there at all. And so just let's see where that goes.
Gotcha. We'll do. Ooh, I'd throw in Vega because I know she actually knows the voice actor. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. All right. That's really it for me. I haven't really been doing a whole lot for 2 weeks other than I'm doing my wood burning, playing a lot of video games. I nearly died earlier this week. That was fun. I had a fever that was so hot. I really thought I could burn my wood pieces with my head.
Was this like was it just a bug or
no?
what?
Like I have an intestinal stricture, so when things get slowed down, but not like stopped. Sometimes my body like just freaks out, like it has no fucking clue what to do, so it goes into like full-on infection mode, even though there wasn't an infection. So I had the fever, the chills, the aches, and I could tell it was blocked because like every hour I'd have to eat Tums because nothing was getting through that stricture in the intestines, or what was going through very slowly. So I was on soft foods for 3 days. So one day I tried to go back on solid food. I got 3 hours in at work, and I was like, I'm gonna pass out. Like I literally blacked out in the ATM when I was filling it. I was like, I'm going home, and if I don't make it home, someone should go drive down a ditch and see if they can find me, because I probably am in a ditch. But so that was fun. Friday, then I made it to work, and I was back to normal more or less. But it took about 3 days for everything to like settle down. But yeah, Monday night, shit. I haven't sweated that much from a fever, and I couldn't tell you how long. I felt like I lost 5 pounds.
Oh,
it
man.
sucked.
Well, I could tell you the fun life of having an autoimmune disease, right? Just
unpleasant.
And
then I had this wood burning commission that I thought I'd have done by now. Now I'm like 2 weeks behind schedule on it, which sucks, but I'll get back to it. That's the plan for this weekend, is to finish the Empire ship logo and then start on the Rebels next week. Okay, so let's get back to what we're moving on to, and that is, of course, during E3, one of the biggest news events of the internet, DC somehow manages to outdo all of that with one action. What do you think that could be? Any takers? Is it them? Is it WB being WB and inserting themselves into one of their best properties in the last 20 years to make asses of themselves? Yes, it would be that. Because
Yeah.
WB got involved in the DC production of Harley Quinn, which is an HBO Max, and it was originally DC Universe special animated show, which is consistently one of the best things they've put out since the Timverse, I would say.
Probably, yeah, yeah. Great
Um,
show.
yeah,
Unrated show, so the dialogue is just hilarious. It's yeah, great cast. Yeah.
and they have a scene where Catwoman, who's a recurring character in the first couple seasons, is going to be in, and of course, and apparently they're going to have it some as a joke, or maybe on the scene itself, where Batman's going down on her, and then DC was like, "Well, heroes don't do that." Like, actually said, heroes don't do that. And the internet exploded for a day. Everyone was making memes about it. Like, one of the best E3 tweets was a joke about heroes don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
did you see that tweet?
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw them all. I
It
saw
was
them all.
it was amazing. And you
I saw
got
Zack Snyder's tweet. I saw them all, man. It's just oh
Val
god.
Kilmer's coming out of the woodwork to tweet gifs about it. Like, it brought the internet to a standstill.
Okay, I gotta say this. I sometimes I get a little bored, so I jump on TikTok just because sometimes I find it remotely funny, remotely not hilarious. But one of them was a girl that just did a commentary on all of the Batman throughout our broadcast production history, and would they or wouldn't they? And just like it was just her going off on Adam West was like, you know he did. Just and she starts showing the Bat dance, and she's like, that man got down and dirty. And just things like that just cracked me up. Just how it became like. Do you remember Kofefe? Remember
Yeah, it
that?
was like that.
It was like that. It was just like fucking hilarious tweets from like all sides. It was like one of those rare moments where the internet, that schism that we have in this country came together for just a little bit, like, just everybody came together, but like, except for DJ Khaled because he spoke out. He don't do that either. So apparently Batman and DJ Khaled
Yeah, he
are in the
doesn't eat
same.
women out, and he doesn't finish hot ones. What a
Yeah,
pussy.
I know, right? Right. But anyway, yeah, it's just kind of hilarious how this just became a really entertaining meme, and DC Animated tweeting out, their thing too. It's
That
just,
was amazing.
oh, it was just great, man. It just proved once again that the internet is undefeated. The internet is undefeated, man.
And
And
speaking of, let
yeah,
me put my tinfoil hat on.
okay, go
So
ahead.
either A, this is manufactured to drum up interest about Harley Quinn, in which case,
Yeah,
kudos to whoever did it,
right.
and or leaked it on purpose. Or B, the only way for them to dig themselves out of this hole is to put themselves back into, like, let the scene go back into the show,
Yep,
and then also let them make a joke about it.
of
Because you
course.
know that minute and a half joke clip, whatever it turns out to be, would be like a monument of like Twitter history. Like
Okay,
it would
so
be everywhere on social media.
okay, who's delivering the punchline? Is it Harley? Is it Detective Gordon? Is it Jim Gordon? Like, who has to be the one to deliver that punchline
I
for it to be
imagine
effective?
who was making the WB joke is Harley Quinn.
Yep.
Who makes whether it's a reference, like a joke gag, or like we actually like see it in the background or something with Catwoman and Batwoman. I don't know how that was all meant to go. But the actual joke about WB, putting themselves where they don't belong, definitely that would go to a Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and maybe it's a commentary between her and Poison Ivy because
Definitely.
obviously we've established that they're a couple going into season 3 now,
Yes.
and if you watch the first 2 seasons, just how they include Catwoman into everything, but she's kind of like begrudgingly doing it, like everything's
Yep.
below her, beneath her, just to see them kind of just pile on her about this. Like it could be a situation as simple as Batman's inadequate in that regard, and then the girls just turn it into a big joke back and forth. Like there's so many ways they can spin this, and honestly, you're right. I mean, I'm not putting on my tinfoil hat for this one because I've for decades now I've seen how stupid Warner Brother
Oh,
is,
I agree. There's no
and
way it
I
is.
think
No way.
yeah. I mean, if this was, I mean, they could spin it now. They can really spin it and turn it into something great for HBO Max and for the show, and for DC. But I really just, I kind of know Warner Brothers at this point, and like, remember, I always refer back to this. 8 years ago, they were on a conference call, basically saying a woman superhero can never lead a major motion picture. And yeah, okay, whatever, dude. And then what? 4 or 5 years later, we get Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
After Dawn of Justice, they're like, "Oh shit, we probably can do this. Let's just retcon what we said in that conference call with all the
Yeah.
executives over there, and let's go ahead and do this. But yeah, I don't think it was intentional, but it's one of those situations where they can really make some serious cash and make it like just get some momentum off of it. Really, I think so. Yeah.
Yep. And it was just one of those things, man. I just as soon as you hear the phrase "now heroes don't do that," you're gonna
Yeah.
think of DC and Batman.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and one of the people I was following, I think it was Alana Pierce, was like, I can't wait to see what happens in comics from this, because Marvel, maybe it's a Deadpool comic, maybe it's
Oh,
somebody in DC, maybe it's Lois Lane making a joke to Clark about it, right? Like that would be so great. Like there's gonna be so many great panels from in comic books that come out of this moment. I can't wait. Can't
I
wait.
don't think it won't be in Superman because he's more schoolboy. He's
Oh no, it
more
wouldn't be Superman making the comic book or
or
making the
like
joke. It'd be like
like
Lois or
like
Jimmy.
you're do that, right?
Yeah, it'd be somebody making the joke. But it's
Yeah.
definitely gonna if it's gonna be Marvel, it'll be in a Deadpool book for sure.
Of course, and it'll be tied around the fact that he can't get his costume off or something. They'll run it into the ground with Deadpool, and you can expect it, and you wouldn't expect less from the character to kind of run
Oh
something
shit,
like
that's gonna be Deadpool. That joke will be in Deadpool 3.
hell yeah, it better be,
I
it
I,
better
I
be.
almost if that's not in Deadpool 3, oh that sucks.
Uh, well, man, at this point, if now's the opportunity for Deadpool 3 to tie it into the multiverse, which where we're going this phase. Apparently, Ryan Reynolds wants a bunch of different Deadpools in this movie. Like
Be
he
dope.
wants multiverse Deadpool, and God, that would be so fucking hilarious
That'd be
to have
awesome.
one to have Batman Deadpool that's like, I don't eat the puss. Like just have him like get all throaty, like I'm the Deadpool, like things like that. There's
Have
so
him
many
talk
things.
Ben Affleck into getting into the costume to do it.
God,
That'd
that
be
would be
amazing.
hilarious. Oh God. I think that would be actually that'd be really good because that'd be kind of his way of just kind of shooting the finger at Matt Reeves because I know that's what turned him off of the project and leaving Batman ultimately. But yeah, that'd be God,
That'd be
man.
funny.
Oh yeah, it's so funny that's become their outlet for just
Yeah.
their rated R content. It's going to be Deadpool for the MCU. It's going to be Deadpool. That's what it's going to be. Like we just need where we're going to get our potty humor. Let's put it in Deadpool, guys. Let's do it there. Sophomore and potty humor. Yeah.
So speaking of what
But yeah,
that,
that was really funny, man. That was really funny seeing that tweet just take off during E3. I'm like,
yeah.
really, really?
Speaking of E3, let's talk about some stuff that happened during E3. A
Sure.
couple things I was surprised I didn't see, which we'll get into in a moment. But Fusion, what were you looking forward to? What did you see at E3? What did you were like, whoa, I want to check that out?
Back for Blood. It looks like it's going to be fun. I don't know if you jumped in on it, but a couple of us in our little gaming group jumped in on the beta. So you have to sign up for the beta. There's going to
Yeah,
be an
I
open
did
beta.
register for that.
Cool. So yeah, I think we're all going to jump on the open beta, give it a try. The other thing was I think the probably the best thing about E3 for me was because I think we've said this before. One thing that drives me crazy is these events that show cinematics rather than gameplay. I hate these events that announce games and downloadable content, and rather than showing anything from the game itself, we just show cinematics. Well, Outer World they took that to a
Yeah,
whole new level, and they just like shit on it, and it was in the best way. They were just the voiceover about major announcement. We take a back shot of our hero, but not too close because we haven't fully finished him out yet. And just basically saying at the end of the trailer, Outer Worlds 2, it's coming out. We just don't have anything yet, so that's why we're not showing it. But it's coming. I liked that. It was a very meta approach to E3, it was very refreshing, honestly.
yep. And I mean that's Obsidian. Obsidian Entertainment is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I can't think of the other game I really wanted to play. It wasn't Redfall. The kind of the Noirish side scroller. I can't think of the name of
Oh
it now.
yeah. Um, fuck.
Can't think of it now. Uh, bu- 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 I don't. I'll remember it later on. But so it sounds like there's just some smaller games. Not a big fan of Far Cry 6. I wasn't a big fan of Far Cry 5. So I know Giancarlo Esposito is going to be the lead character, the lead baddie in 6. But I think Far Cry has just worn itself out with me. Like I've had enough of that one. Same thing with Uncharted. Those games I've had enough of those. But yeah, I mean. there wasn't a whole lot. We saw a little bit more with Halo. We got to see like snippets of the multiplayer online, which is going to be free on Xbox. Well, actually, cross-platform is going to be free. Period. I liked what I saw from it briefly. The fact that you can actually like grab weapons mid-air, like if you kill somebody and their weapons are flying off their body, you can literally steal them from them and load them mid-air. Really cool stuff. But
Replaced. That's the
replaced.
game.
Oh, replaced. Okay, yeah, replaced. Okay. Yeah, it looks really interesting to me. How it has that. It's got a noir look with like it's supposed to be like I guess 16-bit, but then you have 3D rendering in the background that makes it look amazing. So at the beginning, I thought it was like, oh, is this like a side-scrolling cyberpunk sequel or something, or like a DLC? But no, it's just a whole different game. So I'm gonna jump on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't really impressed with the whole lot this year. And I think there's just not a whole lot of coming out, which is weird because we have these consoles that came out last year and we just don't have a lot coming out.
Well, caveat to that is this is the first E3 where like it's number one all virtual, and like Sony and Nintendo really didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
Nintendo had always has their direct around E3, never during E3 though. So they of
Yeah.
course showed off, hey, yeah, we are doing Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever we end up calling it. They
Yeah.
have the title named, they just didn't want to drop it for fear of spoilers.
Sure.
But there have been some crazy theories floating around that game about like what it is and what it's all about. For me, this year, the only one I really watched was the Bethesda Xbox One because I'm a huge Halo fan. I don't know if you can see my Master Chief right
Yep.
there, but I thought starting off the actual campaign trailer with oh, you know what? No, what happened last time? Just don't talk about it. We're gonna show you that no, we're not ignoring what happened to Cortana. We're gonna fucking
Yep.
deal with that shit, and then we're gonna move
Yep.
on, which I appreciate. And it looked fantastic. Like, obviously that's all pre-rendered stuff, and generally, even in Halo 4 and 5, their pre-rendered stuff looks fucking dope. Like, the tech in those games is amazing. I'm not a fan of some of the design they went with for Chief, and like the armor style stuff, but the actual like look of it physically looked fantastic. I'm loving that they went back to the old school 117 Mark 6 armor. Like that is just an iconic. I mean, that's Master fucking Chief. You know,
Yep,
that was one of Halo 4's biggest missteps, was changing it to that weird new Spartan armor style, which I didn't like. Like, should have left him in the Mark 6, like, and have that like be the old school armor. But whatever. Not gonna piss on anybody, like on anybody's take on anything. But it was just not that great in terms of a look. But the MP looked amazing. Like, I knew the MP would be good because of who they were all bringing in and back to the Halo franchise. Because the Halo multiplayer in 5 was fantastic. If they could continue that trajectory, Infinite was going to be great. And it looks like it's going to be great. A little more verticality because of the grapple launcher. Like mid-air hijacks with the grapple launcher. That shit's going to be fucking amazing. And it's not like we haven't had verticality, even though they've had jetpacks since Reach. So, like, plus grappling in Halo 5, like, you could actually mantle up over things.
Yeah.
Which was really fun. Added a lot of fluidity to the combat. So I'm very excited to see where they go with Infinite. It looks like we're also getting more armor customization from Halo Reach.
Yep.
Which I know they've teased, but like to actually see it in motion looked fantastic. I think it's going to be a blast because I love me some fucking Halo multiplayer. Their multiplayer modes are second to none for me. I mean, they wrote the book on most multiplayer modes that you play today, and they're still the king of the castle in some of those. Like, nobody's done an oddball, like, headhunter type one like them since. It's just because it's perfect. And I'm excited to play that again. Other stuff for me that jumped out, of course, the Outer Worlds 2 trailer. God, that shit was funny. Obsidian, they're right up, like, that was almost right up there with the we don't comment on rumors except to say the Rumors album by Fleetwood Mac still holds up. Like, that, to me, is one of it's an all-timer comment from a studio. Starfield. I have no idea what the fuck's going on with that game. No idea.
Dude,
it's out in like 15 months. Nobody knows anything about it.
We're just showing a basic cinematic that explains nothing about it other than it's space. That's it. That's it.
I would have expected that trailer last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Not, hey, it's coming out next fall. Nothing about the game. Still, you have plenty of time to build up a hype cycle. Like this, you don't need. This isn't gonna make or break the game this year. I would expect, of course, next E3 they'll have a lot more to show. And I'll give Bethesda this. Since the release of Fallout 4, they haven't really gone too deep into games before they're ready to show.
Okay.
You know? Like, Because Halo 4, or not Halo 4, sorry, Fallout 4, they didn't tell anybody it was happening. And then they're
No,
like, oh, hey,
they
E3, it's
announced
out in
it
4
for 3
months. Bye.
yeah, 4 months. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it
Yeah.
was, that was crazy. And like,
Yeah, it
that
was
won
great.
E3 that year. Because Todd Howard's just like, oh, yeah, it's out in November.
Yeah,
Bye.
because I mean the trailer, Atom Bomb Baby, you're watching, you're like, holy shit, this looks fun. And oh guys, it's out in September. And like everyone's like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
are
it
you
was
kidding me?
crazy.
Yeah.
Studios just didn't do that. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that Bethesda takes their time behind the scenes and then shows things when they're ready. You know,
Yeah.
like they're talking about things, of course, and when you have the IPs they have in their stable, you kind of got to justify moving to a new IP. You're breaking away from Elder Scrolls and Fallout, two of the biggest IPs in gaming, to make a new IP. Kind of got to justify it and show it in its process. So
Yeah.
I get that we're a little still too far out to show. I mean, 15 months, it's 16 months really, probably more than anything to go gold, is
About.
probably a little too early to really see anything. The
Yeah.
cinematic looked fantastic, and if the in-engine stuff looks that good, I think we're in for gonna be a great time. I'm just curious what it's about. Like, what are we gonna do? You know?
Yeah. You have your Fallout in space with Outer Worlds now. You have that. So the next thing is, what is it going to be? Is it going to be an FPS? Because if it is, it's going to anger a lot of people because you're going to
Yeah.
be like, well, I already play Outer Worlds. So, or even if you change the story up a tad bit and create a whole mythos behind it.
And like,
So
at
yeah,
how
it's
far in the future are we talking? You know, like
exactly,
what are the
exactly.
mechanics going to be? Is it going to be a you're a courier type situation between planets? You know, like what's all going on? I'm a little curious. We didn't get any more about the plot. That's like the only thing I was really like, oh, because mechanics wise, things could change in a drop of a hat in development. So
Sure.
that's not a huge worry for me. I was just wonder like a little like, huh, that was all we got, huh?
Yeah,
I will say I know we're getting more Xbox stuff later in the year, so maybe that'll all be there. Maybe they didn't want to dump it all at once.
sure, that's fair.
I was also surprised we didn't get anything for the Halo show. Like
Yeah,
anything?
yeah,
It's the 20th
yeah.
anniversary of Halo, 20th anniversary of Xbox. The Halo show is in production, if not mostly done with season 1 production. No trailer? Nothing hype to get you hype for that show? That's weird. Unless they're going
Yeah.
to show something at a later Xbox specific event, which they might, especially closer to the actual show's release because it's early 2022. So maybe like an August or September event, you know, dropping that trailer to kind of get hype for that, you know, to get eyeballs on that event and also give them something to pay off.
Yeah.
I could see that, but it was still a little bit of a shock to not see anything. A little shocked we didn't get any hint at Elder Scrolls 6 because we did a couple years ago, and they haven't like, and maybe there just wasn't room in the reel because it was
Sure.
pretty tight. Like it was very constant,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
appreciated. It was definitely, I think, the best technical show beyond the Forza dip, because that's just I don't really get into Forza stuff at all. But
Beautiful game though.
yeah,
Beautiful
like it's
game.
a tech showcase, so I get why they want to show it off. And the Series X has some serious hardware behind it, so I get it on the
Yeah.
business end. It just doesn't do anything for me personally. And then of course they capped it off with the most hype trailer for a fridge you could imagine, and it was as
Oh.
cheesy and over the top as possible. And I'm buying that fridge.
Is it a
It's
countertop fridge or is
it
it
looks like
a?
it's a countertop fridge,
There's
like
very little internal space.
eight pack, 8 cans basically.
Yeah.
Like you know those old retro like Pepsi ones.
Yeah.
It's like that, but with the Xbox Series X design.
Yeah.
I'm in. It's going on this. It's going right here. Whether I'll have to move my TV or not, maybe it'll go up on this shelf where the Chief is, so it's a little further away from the TV. But it's going somewhere like where you can see it and get Mountain Dews in it. It'll be a good time. Hopefully the shelf you can take out because I don't know if the 16-ounce bottles will fit. I don't want to have to
Yeah.
go back to cans, but
Yeah, it looks. I mean, just they have like that whole like that covering inside of there, that green covering that looks like it's maybe that pops out. I don't know. Maybe that's just like a way for you to just isolate just a few cans and it can come out. We don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work, but
and yeah, they didn't
um,
give a price or a release date. They just said holiday 2021. So I would
yeah,
assume, you know, by October we'll have order details.
I guarantee you that damn thing's gonna be on back order
Oh
within
yeah, immediately.
30 minutes. Not even 30 minutes. It'll be on back order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to get one because it's gonna be dope.
I might think about it too. I mean, just as I'm working into this office, adding more collectibles in this room here,
Oh,
I've
you
been
got
thinking
plenty
about
of
it.
room back there, man.
Yeah, I have plenty of room back here. I was actually going to put a case because I'll put some of my dioramas out there, in that corner back there. But I may want to get kind of a lower one where I can put the fridge on top. You can see the fridge back there.
Be dope.
Yeah,
That'd be fantastic. All right, so that's it for E3. We are at
yep,
roughly half an hour of showtime. Do we want to
sure.
talk about the Anthony Mackie thing, or would we want to move into Bad Batch Loki talk?
You know what, man? We talked about it before the show, and I think for me, I think it's just we probably should just let itself build out because it's only happened a couple days ago. Let's see where it goes because for us to just throw out there, rumors and speculation on stuff, and throwing, you know, pointing fingers at the internet like the internet likes to point at people. I'd say let's just let it sit for a little while and see where it goes. It's
Okay.
just it's too soon for that one. Yeah, I just the Batman one was funny just because that one gained so much momentum so fast and it went in such a great area, like just the path it went into. This one, it's like this is a little more controversial for me, and I want to see what happens next, like what Disney's going to be for if Disney does pull the trigger on something, or we'll talk about it. I think maybe next week that's probably something. Let's give it a few days to see what happens with that one.
Sounds good. Okay,
All right.
so the quicker of the two is going to be Bad Batch talk. I watched Bad
Yep.
Batch episode 8 today. Finally figured out that my Xbox has not been outputting in 4K, so I finally watched an episode in 4K. It's awesome. Um, so episode 8 reunion, definitely the best episode since the initial premiere of Bad Batch.
Sure. Sure.
Have you been keeping up with the show?
Yeah, yeah. I actually yesterday afternoon I watched is it 6 and 7? Is that what we're on? 6 and 7, right?
8 was
Or
this
7?
week.
7 and 8. So I watched 7 and 8. Got to see the return of Captain Rex, and then saw
Dude,
reunion.
Rex coming back was hype as hell.
Yeah, right. It was just like the way he shows up was very casual, and then all of a sudden everyone's so happy to see him. I really like the where the story's going. I can see people complaining, comparing it to the Mandalorian, how there's this whole go do me a favor missions that are in these stories that are happening with the Star Wars shows lately. And of course, the people that want to be counter towards Dave Filoni, like being the EVP of things for Star Wars now. Well, every show is going to have them just doing mini missions. That's really what he's going to have everybody doing. It's a little different with Bad Batch, just because we're building out this. Who knows how many seasons this thing's going to be? Right? We don't really know how long it's going to go, and
Yeah, because
they have to build up the
there's still
character
about
development.
10 years of the Empire's
Yep.
beginning they haven't touched on because Rebels was about 5 to 6 months before New Hope. Like
Yep.
5 years to about 6 months. It spanned. There was a couple different time jumps there, but then that Rebels to the beginning or end of Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
not a lot of actual media that we have
No.
beyond Fallen Order. That's canon. And
Yeah.
so Bad Batch
Okay.
being a direct pickup from End of Clone Wars is unique in that respect, in that we're still seeing, like you're saying, we're still seeing the origin of the Empire, which is fucking cool.
Yep. Yep. Just how they, I think we talked about this in the very first couple episodes, just the approach to removing clones because it wasn't cost effective, things like that, making it like just creating a structure behind the building of the empire was interesting to me, rather than just, oh, it's evil, it's the Sith leading it. Okay, then it is what it is. It's like, no, there's too many working parts, and a lot of that was the clones. That was a really big thing. And so we're branching off and we're talking about, because if you watch the last couple episodes, they talk about the other clones that are out there that weren't affected by the inhibitor chip. So there's plenty of other stories they can run into other clones outside of Rex, and create some adventures there. But really like the character development. This one's seeing Crosshairs again. I'm debating on where they're going to settle with Crosshairs. My theory is there's going to be a confrontation at the end of the season, and you come to find out, get ready for this, he had his chip removed a long time ago. He's all in for
I
the
don't
Empire.
think I'm gonna push back on there.
Okay,
I
okay,
think to this episode, the ion radiation is gonna fuck with the chip that's in his head
okay. Which is, I like that
because he
idea.
just had an ion engine blasted into his face.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah, he got cooked. Yeah, he got fucked up pretty bad. But um, to me, it's just like it feels like they're really setting up towards a swerve. Like they're leading to the obvious story of getting redemption from Crosshairs, right? That's what they're leading towards. and it just feels like to me there's got to be a swerve there. There has to be a swerve. That's where I feel like it's going to have to happen for for the dramatic sake of the show. You know,
Yep.
these guys get devastated to learn that Crosshairs he's not affected by the chip because he doesn't have the chip. He had it removed, and so
Well,
that
that
they're
would
going
be
to.
impossible because they showed them using the chip earlier in the show.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. Yeah, the Kaminoans
Yeah.
and
I will say this
they're
though. You're right though. They are setting up that swerve where like Crosshair's gonna watch the Clone Force get killed. Omega's gonna get taken by the Kaminoans. He's gonna kill the Kaminoans and just tell the girl to run. And then he's
yeah.
gonna turn around and take on all the clones by himself, and then she's gonna get away. That's
Okay.
probably what's gonna happen. It's gonna be like tragic and hard to watch, but
Yeah.
probably what's gonna go down. But
Yeah.
speaking of Filoni, and why I love having someone who's like kind of overseeing and connecting all the different things, the bounty hunter that shows up this week, if have you
Oh yeah.
not seen before?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know who he
Cad
is. Yeah.
fucking Bane.
Cad Bane.
Oh my god! I didn't think we'd ever see him again. He's one of the best
Right?
parts of of the Clone Wars show, like hands down, like top 5 character. Like Ahsoka's the best new Jedi. He's definitely like the best bounty hunter. Like so much fucking cooler than Boba Fett.
Well, you knew at some point they were going to add that Western element into Star Wars. They had to because
Yeah,
there you have a lot of Firefly fans out there that like that whole Western theme in space, the whole Western and the old West and space approach to things. So to see him and he play, just the character plays so well. He looks so dark and ominous,
yeah,
even
and
as
the voice.
the voice. Yeah, what is his name? Burton, Coy Burton. Coy Burton.
Yeah,
He's the guy that. Yeah, when I saw him pop up, I was like, hell yeah, I like this because we're gonna get at least 2, maybe 3 episodes of Cad Bane. We have to. Like they're not gonna go find him and get Omega back right away. We have 16 episodes. This arc's gonna take at least 2 more episodes.
and
And
you
so
know Fennec's showing back up.
yep, that's true.
They're probably
Yep.
gonna team up with her to get the kid
Yeah.
at some point, and I'm hoping maybe we see a young Boba. Like he's using the armor now and everything. I could imagine we'll see that.
Yep.
That'd be like maybe a check-in with the
Like I said, we're
Mandalorians
gonna
or
be
something.
clones. We're gonna run into clones along the way, other clones along the way.
Yeah.
We have to. And it makes sense to do that because it's like, hey, we were all like we were born and we were created and bred and created to do one thing. And now if we're not dead, like what is our cause? What is our purpose now? And to tell that story in the backdrop of the Bad Batch themselves of this Group 99. I like it. I like the story. I like where it could be going. Like, there's a lot of possibilities where you could tie it into what happens with the Empire building. Maybe this group of clones, we never really learned about it, but a handful of clones helped start the Resistance.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's where it starts. And Rex kind of teased that. Remember, he said
Yeah.
that at the end of the episode. He goes, "I'm a soldier. That's what I've done all my life."
Yeah.
And that's what I'm gonna do. And then he just disappears. You're like, okay, what does that mean? What is he gonna do? Is that like related? Because we do know Bale Antilles is out there still, right?
Yeah.
We know he's out there, and he plays a role in helping build the Resistance. So it's like, okay, I like, and we can somewhere along the way get a nice little young Leia appearance.
Yeah.
in
Maybe
that
Mon
process.
Mothma.
Yeah,
Maybe
I like
maybe they bring back Akbar.
that would be kind of cool.
I
Yeah,
was
bring back
very
that.
stunned we didn't get anything with Akbar and Rebels. Like I was shocked we never did.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was in. They did have him in the Clone Wars. When they go to the Mon Calamari, like he's there, and plays a pivotal role in like the changing of their government, and then they never see him again. I'm curious if we'll see him there. Like maybe he's starting to secretly build up a fleet or something.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty dope.
Yep.
So it's got to show. It still show that. I'm not sure if they're constantly sticking the landing.
Yeah.
But it's still a cool lens into the Star Wars universe we've never really gotten before. So regardless of if every single episode's been great, the actual like getting to see that formation of the Empire and the world changing from where we had 7 years of the Clone Wars and now into the Empire at large and where we know it goes, it's pretty cool to see.
I agree. Question for you: Do we really could do callbacks to the traditional Star Wars characters? Do we get Obi-Wan at some point on Tatooine? Do we do any of that stuff, or we just
I
we keep
think that's best
building
left to
Tatooine?
Rebels. I don't think
Okay.
Filoni likes to use his old characters, but I don't think he's like a hardcore get him in at all costs kind of guy. Like
Yeah.
bringing in Rex, makes sense, right? Like Ahsoka's off the table because canonically she literally isn't doing anything right now, so
Yep.
she's off the table. I think Bail Organa is definitely a possibility. I think Mon Mothma, like I said,
Sure.
Akbar, a few of the rebellion era characters are a possibility.
Sure.
Like we could see something with the Wookiees. Doesn't have to be
Yep.
Chewie. Could be a different,
No.
you know, Kashyyyk, something going on in the Kashyyyk resistance or something.
Sure.
Like the fall of Kashyyyk, I could see from the
Well, I mean,
like,
we have to tell the story of how he went from like a general in on Kashyyyk to being like just in a prison cell with remember in the
yeah,
beginning of Solo. Like we have to tell his story at some point, whether it's there or we do a miniseries. I don't know, but you could kind of squeeze it in. But I don't. I think the original callbacks. I think we like you're right. Bail Organa makes sense to have like of course a toddler Leia in the background or something, right?
yeah,
But it makes sense to have him because of his political ties into the prequels into where we ended up with Order 66. So yeah,
yeah. So it'll be interesting to follow. Of course, you got Darth Maul kicking around too.
of course. I'm becoming a real big fan of the big brother, little sister relationship that Omega and Wrecker are having. I really
Yeah,
like that relationship. It just he because at the beginning they made him to be just kind of the smash and grab guy, but like they're kind of developing his little character too, but through her, and I like that. So yeah,
yeah. It's been fun to like, and plus D. Bradley Baker is doing all the clones, like
of course.
fantastic. It's so
Yep.
fun. It's crazy to listen to. Like, oh, that's the same guy doing
Yep.
all these voices, and they're all so similar but so different. It's a blast.
Yeah, you forget like Echo, Tech, Wrecker, Hunter, they all sound different. But then when you hear Hunter and Rex talk, it's like, okay, that he's just doing the same voice there, but the other guy's like, oh yeah, I forget he's voicing all of them. He's supposed to be voicing all of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
All right, I think that wraps up our thoughts on the Bad
Sure.
Batch. So let's move
Yep.
on to the show of the day, which is
Yes.
Loki on Disney Plus.
Loki.
So episodes 1 and 2 are out. Fusion, what have you thought about the first 2 episodes of the God of Mischief's debut show?
It just goes to prove that Loki is one of the best one of the best casted characters in the MCU for one, because Tom Hiddleston is great. But not only that, but there's a reason why we need more Loki. Just we always need more. We always needed more Loki, and this is the perfect example why. We mentioned how he and Luke Wilson have this great relationship throughout the show, but with WandaVision, I loved how there was so much of it connected to the MCU, like all the way through the entire timeline of the MCU from beginning to end. They do a lot of callbacks and they bridge a lot of storylines through WandaVision. This is great because it takes all of the MCU period and you could tell it's building towards what's coming with the Spider-Man sequel No Way Home with Multiverse of Madness, like obviously all of that, Ant-Man and Wasp 3, like that we're going somewhere good because at this point we can't spoil too much because a lot of the casual fans are now doing their research beforehand as well. Like what's the TVA? I'm going to go Google this. Okay, learn a little bit about that. But there's on top of all that, just that first episode is so emotional. Hiddleston is great. When Loki's watching his life, it's hilarious with him and Wilson. But then when he goes back in and sees his death, it's like, to me, that was like, okay, that was obviously a turning point for this character, this variant character. Like, we don't know his motivations because at the end of it, he's still just Loki. But you know that this isn't the same Loki that wanted to rule the world. The joke about the fucking Infinity Stones was hilarious in the first episode. Like it just was hilarious to me how they just made it so insignificant at the TVA. But what they're building is interesting. I know you have a whole theory about how it's going to end. My
Yeah,
theory might be a little different. I did remember I did call on the side. I did call it was Lady Loki just because how they didn't show the
yeah,
face of the very first episode. I was like, it's Lady Loki. We're getting Lady Loki. And but the motivations could like just basically how their first interaction between each other in episode 2, it does throw in. I kind of understand where you're coming with your theory that you're going to talk about here in a sec, but I kind of get where you're going because that interaction wasn't very hero versus villain. It was very anti-hero versus anti-hero, and you're wondering what's happening next. But I really love the show. Too many other things. I mean, what is it, Ravonna Renslayer? Obviously, if you've read the comics, you know what she's tied to. So you're like, oh shit. So okay, we're getting a lot of callbacks here. But talking about the timeline, making Infinity War and Endgame, their time travel heist significant by the timekeepers. I like what they're doing. I really like what they're doing. They've really thought out the future of the MCU through Loki. They have, and I like it a lot.
Okay. Well, I echo a lot of that. The aesthetic of it, like how they make the TVA look and function,
Oh
very
God,
cool, very
yeah.
slick, very retro future, which I really dig. And like I said,
Does
there's
this smell to you like when you see the scenes of TVA? And you're like, it smells kind of stale air. When I think like you think of like old libraries or something. Does it remind you of anything when you see that? No, no.
not particularly.
Okay,
I mean,
like a doctor's office. Oh God, yeah.
a little bit like kind of like sterile, maybe.
Yeah, like an old building that has a really, really old AC system, so it's kind of stale air in there. Yeah,
Yeah. But
that's what I think.
so for me, like I keep watching this, going, man, yeah, there's a lot of like parallels. I can see the Legends right now. Like the Legends
Yeah.
had the Time Masters in season
Yep.
one, which then, spoiler alert, come to find out, manipulating time for their own end to make sure Earth doesn't get invaded by aliens, thereby
Yep.
making our villain their Patsy, which is
Yep.
like awful because he like kills the main characters or the lead character's family, and which means they knew it was going to happen. So it was all predetermined, and it all had to happen, and nothing our heroes did mattered. Like
Yep.
it gets heavy until finally they turn around and go like, "How about we just take that away from them?" And then they blow themselves. Like one of the best characters blows themselves up, Leonard Snart, and becomes like a hero in the end. Which I'm still mad the CW of all the characters they brought back into Arrowverse. That Leonard
Sure.
Snart, when he blew himself up in the time cube, should have just gotten sent into the future, and then it's still the same character. But we just haven't found him yet. But whatever, because you brought him back as an alternate character.
Yep.
Anyway, different conversation. And the Time Masters in the TVA, a lot of similar, like there's a hint of something behind it that just doesn't quite add up. Like you got Loki questioning, like, well, how do they know the future? Like,
Yeah.
oh, they're just sitting in the office, untangling the knots of the multiverse, and it's like, well, that's horseshit because of course they would know the future if they're controlling time. Like,
Sure.
so they know where it's going, and the things they're snipping off are things they just don't want to happen. Why? Because there's an intent there. And given a couple of the hints we got this week, that really got my head turning on some theories, man. Like, holy
Okay.
shit, it got my head turning.
I
But
want to jump in real quick because I want to bring this up. I think it's really important. We've established in the first episode that they're in at that point in time where Loki comes in 2012, there is only one timeline. There
yep,
is only
there's
one
the
timeline.
sacred timeline.
The sacred timeline. So we've established. So when people argue, well, that whole time travel with in Endgame, like that like, but they've explained as well. We knew that was going to happen. That was allowed. It had a purpose. Okay, but we've established now that the reason why we don't have multiverse characters come in and out of the MCU at this point is because we have one sacred timeline. Now, where we go next, I'm gonna hand it over to you, man, because I know
Okay.
you have a lot to talk about this.
So my theory is as follows. It's not super in depth. It's about four paragraphs long. And I could extrapolate a lot just based on like, oh hey, remember this comic? Remember this storyline? Like there's a lot of extrapolation you could do from this. But okay,
Okay.
so basically, Ravonna, the
Yep.
head timekeeper lady, Mobius's boss. Um,
Uh-oh.
okay, I told her I'd be busy. Whatever. Sorry, I had a phone call. Basically is the head in charge, either is a blind leader or knows the TVA is all bullshit. Like
Okay.
it's all a fabrication because the timekeepers maybe at one time were real, but one of them is of course Kang, or at least one aspect of Kang, and that's I believe Immortus. That
Yes.
yeah. So he's essentially commandeered the TVA and created the sacred timeline with one purpose in mind, and that is to keep Ravonna alive. Because at some
Okay.
point, or either maybe currently, they are together, and without the sacred timeline, she doesn't live,
Okay. Yeah,
right?
that's fair.
Because in
Yeah.
a number of different incarnations, that's like Kang's whole purpose is to keep Ravonna alive,
Yep.
whether that be in current stasis or to improve her condition because of the whole like being displaced through time thing, and that's why he's done this and is so far still just operating behind the scenes because he needs the TVA to continue to protect the timeline.
Okay.
Now, the variant Loki is going to kill female Loki. Variant Loki, Hiddleston Loki, same thing. They're all are Loki, you know.
Yep.
Going to kill female Loki, but he'll figure all this out while talking to her. Like they'll put all the pieces together of, oh, yeah, the TVA is all bullshit. I was right. This doesn't make sense, right? Like this is just weird. So he's gonna kill female Loki, then get his
Okay.
meeting with the Time Masters,
Mhm.
and then he's unknowingly going to be executed, or like
Okay.
in that meeting. But he's and like well, we later find out that female Loki's doing this whole blowing up the timeline thing because she's actually a good guy and wants to give everybody back their free will. You can
Okay.
do whatever you want. Fuck the Time Variance Authority. Fuck all the timekeepers. Do what you want. And that's like her whole thing. Loki's gonna like basically let her do that, but then kill her. So that because
Sure.
he's the only variant of Loki left. So he's gonna get taken in front of the timekeepers and then turn the tables on Kang, drop the news on Mobius, and maybe Ravona's in on it or not. I don't know. I kind of think she is, maybe, but
Okay.
and then he's gonna displace Kang like through time. That's how he's gonna be able to pop up in so many different places for the MCU as a whole. We know he's gonna be in
Okay.
Ant-Man 3. He's probably gonna be the big Phase 4 villain. That's how he can be in all these different places at one is because his mind's like fractured through time,
Yep.
and he's gonna die doing so. Loki is
Okay.
gonna die displacing him through time. So we're gonna get Kid Loki, which is who current Loki is based on. Like Kid Loki in the comics is who they based MCU Loki on, at least in terms of a lot of the look and mannerisms, and like just like
Sure.
the whole ethos. Like not actually a bad guy, but kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
Um, and then Mobius is gonna take that kid under his wing, and then the mid-credit scene or last scene we see is gonna be Mobius riding a jet ski with Kid Loki, and it's gonna be heartwarming and also a good callback. So that's more or less the theory, and we're gonna have Kid Loki stick around because we know they're like after Loki, I almost guarantee they're gonna announce, oh yeah, we're doing Young Avengers, by the way. Here's an actual title card and an actual plan for when we're doing it.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair because I mean we've established that Kate Bishop is taking over as
And
Hawkeye
we've seen
on the
5 of the Young Avengers already. Maybe
yeah.
4.
We
4
know
or 5.
Cassie Lang is now a teenager
Yep.
in 2023, like 16, 17 years old now. So we have her. We have Isaiah Bradley, right?
Yep, his grandson,
Ezekiel
yep.
Bradley. Ezekiel Bradley. I'm sorry, Ezekiel Bradley. Who else do we have now? We could have Kid Loki.
Kate
We
Bishop's
have the
coming out.
twins, Kate Bishop, and we have the twins, right?
Yeah, and the twins. So we've actually seen well, assuming we see Kid Loki, it'll be 6.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like you
So
know they're
the other,
setting it up.
the other one we're missing is Hulkling, but you could easily create the character in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
You can have that one pop up. So Um, it's funny how She-Hulk is going to end up becoming a platform for Bruce Banner watch.
Yeah.
I already have a feeling Ruffalo is going to be in a shit ton of that show, like
Yeah. It's a
throughout
good
the
way to get
season,
around the Universal bullshit.
right? He's technically on an ensemble show, so we can
Not
do
his
it.
show. He's not the lead.
Nope, nope. I wonder if they could call it the Hulks and still get away with it, or if that's too
I think
close.
that might be too close.
Okay, okay. Now, if
But
they called it like if they did but see, they could technically do a World War Hulk movie though if they wanted to, and have it be like Red Hulk or something, right? Be the villain.
I don't know. That'd be weird.
No, he can't. He just can't lead. I think that's the thing. He can't lead.
Yeah,
But anyway,
unless they want to negotiate a deal.
yeah. So you're talking about the Young Avengers. For me, when I watch it, what I think is happening is obviously this is my thing. I think that Lady Loki is the spirit of 2018 Loki dying and jumping into another body, right? Maybe an Asgardian that got away, right? And she, somewhere along the way found out about the TVA. Like I don't know how that maybe that's a backstory, and is deciding to seek revenge on the TVA. Now from there, I haven't really thought much out about like what's going to happen at the end, outside of the fact that what I think is into leading into Spider-Man and Multiverse of Madness, obviously is that the TVA gets destroyed or something happens with the TVA where it's out of commission and that creates the chaos with with the multiverse. We have 22 some odd timelines that have been established from episode 2 to Loki. Okay, well, maybe the rest of the season is trying to fix this whole thing, and then at the end of it all, the TVA just gets destroyed. And whether it's through Ravonna Renslayer, if we do get Kang, we're not going to get too much of him because you don't want to put too much because
That's
we
why I
really
think
have.
she's in on it. She's
Okay,
gonna be like the
that
mini
makes sense.
boss.
Yeah,
Loki, or maybe Mobius has to kill her. Loki
yeah,
goes to deal with Kang and like basically mutually assured destruction kills Kang by basically overloading the time matrix or whatever he uses to view time, and then
sure.
displaces Kang through time while he dies and gets reborn as Kid Loki.
Well, we have the other thing that popped up in episode 2 was the conversation between Renslayer and Mobius. Apparently, she does have another quote unquote agent.
And that's I think
In
is
the,
Kang.
you think it's Kang?
Yep.
I like what I saw. The rumor is that just like kind of quasi Rick and Morty, where she's plucked another variant Mobius out from a different world that may be a lot darker than the
Could
Mobius.
can agents have their own variants?
See, that's the thing. We don't know where they come from.
They
Like,
were yeah yeah.
were they made in the TVA? We don't know. Like, he just basically was like, I existed, and then I was here. Like we don't have a full story of what happens with those TVA agents, where they come from. As far as we know, they could be coming from a destroyed timeline, like a previous timeline, or a variant timeline. They're plucked out of it. Maybe that's part of what. For me, maybe that's what's happening. We find out that it may not be the TVA is completely faked this whole time, but more so that there's a lot of bad shenanigans going on with the TVA that's exposed with Loki and Lady Loki and over the next couple episodes, including they're plucking, like basically they're building this entire workforce from destroyed variant Nexus events. They're pulling people out of those events and bringing them into work, and that's what's happening. Maybe it's something of that nature, or I don't know. But talking about another agent, it's like okay, well, okay, like you said, it could be Kang, but I don't think we get a lot of screen time of Kang.
Oh
That
no,
just it doesn't make
he's
sense
gonna be
because
a last minute reveal and then
yeah,
quickly dealt with, but then
yeah.
heavily set up and implied. Oh, he's gonna be around.
Sure, sure. And you could do that because it was announced that he is the lead villain in Ant-Man 3. Okay, he's the lead villain there. So you do at like a little scene or a little bit of him at the back end of this show, maybe at the back end of Spider-Man, and of course you get it at the back, kind of how we built up Thanos throughout throughout phase 1, and phase 2. So yeah, man, I really like where this is going. I do. I am very curious about Lady Loki, just because I knew the original roots of her, and then the ties to Lady Sif in the comics, and just that whole thing. It's like I kind of was hoping we were gonna get Jamie Alexander. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't say it, but I was really hoping it was like that would be fucking sweet if she takes off the hood and it's Jamie Alexander. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, let's do this. Let's do Lady
Yeah,
Loki with Sif. Like, let's go there. But I think we're saving her for Thor 4 for Love and
damn right.
Thunder.
I can't wait for that movie.
God, dude, that's oh
It
god, that
should
movie's so
like
good.
when I hear Natalie Portman's gonna be Thor, I'm like, I should be like, I mean, she didn't
Yeah,
really seem that invested. I don't know. Like, if she
yeah,
doesn't care, why should anybody else care? But then I'm like, well, wait a minute, it's a Taika movie. Okay,
yeah,
and you're bringing Jamie Alexander back, and we're
yep,
bringing Valkyrie back, and we're bringing like an intro sequence with the Guardians. Fuck, I'm
yep,
in. I'm
yep,
in.
yep.
It's gonna be great.
What did he say? He said he's considering it like a Civil War-esque type of movie.
Yeah, for the cosmic side of the universe, which is like, okay, that's fucking rad. I'm
If
in.
you somehow squeeze
And
in
Russell
like Adam
Crowe's gonna be Zeus.
Zeus, yeah, fuck, dude.
What?
Not only that, dude, what if you snuck in leading into Guardians 3, you snuck in Adam Warlock? Like they're just like, who the fuck is this guy? Through all the madness of what's taking place in space, like who's this guy coming to terrorize us? And it's Adam Warlock. Or we get Nova. We get the introduction of Nova because at some point we're gonna get that. They've announced that they
Yes,
wanted to
they've
do
got
it.
to at some point.
But like, yeah, man, like it's just there's just so much going on, and what Loki's doing is he's building up the next steps, and that's what I really like about it. Rather, with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it was more of tying up loose ends, like from the ground level of
Yeah, the
Earth,
street side.
right?
Yeah,
The street side of it that was tying up those loose ends from Endgame. What this is this is opening the door to the next phase completely. Like WandaVision teased it, but this is like we're showing you where we're heading because when this is over with, you're gonna be like, okay,
yeah, like it's time
what's next?
travel and multiverse time, people. Here we
Yeah,
fucking go.
exactly. Yeah, it's opening the door for
Yeah,
you to say, okay, and maybe at the very end of it, you show the multiverse fractured in a timeline where you see Raimi's Spider-Man swinging around, something like that,
yeah,
right?
like
And you're like,
yeah,
okay, we're doing like we're going into this full swing. I do want to bring this up real quick because in episode 1, oh man, I just lost my train of thought on that. I forgot what I was gonna say now. Fuck me. Go ahead. It was just episode 1 was so good, man, of Loki.
It was
Just
really
so good.
solid. Like it was a great premiere, and I can't wait to see where they go. I'm imagining episode 3 is going to be a lot of exposition from Lady Loki. It's
Yeah.
obviously Loki followed her into wherever she went, so we're going to get a whole lot there. Now they're separated, and I think we're going to see that no, our Loki is like fuck it, I'm a good guy now. Fuck it, like and kill her.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be an interesting few weeks because then we got Black Widow on July 9th, and I'm so excited. It's gonna be great. We may have to do a one-off like in between weeks podcast just for that one.
Are you going in the theater for that one?
Probably.
Debating. I'm debating if I want to go to the theater or not. Like seriously.
I mean, it's coming out on demand, so
Yeah. What if that one has a fucking curveball that basically you find out that she's resurrected because of what's going on with the
from what I've
multiverse?
heard, that's not the case. It's 100% a
No.
send-off movie.
Yeah.
Like I follow some people and they're like, yeah, but we've saw those screeners and stuff. Like, got one mid-credit scene, that's it. And it's definitely a good send-off that they wish they had gotten before
Okay.
Endgame.
Okay. Well, that's
So
fair.
you know,
But yeah, man, it's only 5 episodes, so we're going into episode 3, which we both know episode 5 with all of these shows is usually the resolution episode of,
yes,
what's happened with the
especially
storyline.
if we're not going to get a continuation.
Yep. So it's going to be 3 is going to be the major conflict, a lot of action here. Episode 4 is going to be the penultimate, where if there's a reveal, it's going to happen at the end of 3. We get resolution to that reveal in episode 4, and the major final battle, final scene, conflict, and then we get resolution at the very beginning of 5, and it just trails off to what happens
Yep.
next. So, yeah, I mean,
And I think
it's going to happen fast.
the time Miss Minutes or whatever is going to be the key
Yeah.
to the whole thing because she's going to stealthily give Loki back his knives before he goes to meet the timekeepers.
Voiced by Legend Tara Strong, by the way, who I thought did a great. She
Oh no,
does a
not
great
her.
job.
The TVA agent. Sorry, the not.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
crossing up the.
I know who you're talking about. I forget her
Yeah,
name
like the
now.
one who took back the knives was like, I don't think so, and took the knives, put them in her locker. She's gonna get the knives and give them to Loki on the sly, because she's
Yeah.
gonna be up on everything and realize that, oh shit, he's right. Like, damn, it's gonna be great.
So yeah, it may not be to me where it's completely where the TVA has been a lie this whole time. I think it's more of there's just a lot of shenanigans that they're going to get caught on, and so everybody at the TVA is going to be. Um, there's just going to be like an internal war, like a fight for what's happening for the people that do have a moral compass to those that are just like whatever. And at the end of it, the TVA gets destroyed or
I
completely
think, yeah,
put out.
it's gonna be fascinating to watch.
But I mean, that's the only way for us to get into the multiverse, right? Is to
Yeah, and
completely
again,
TVA
that
be there.
that's what Legends did. Like,
Yeah,
blow it up.
yeah,
It's the only way to get rid of predeterminism is get rid of someone controlling time.
yeah.
Probably it's the end game that makes the most sense. Just where they
Yeah,
leave certain
I
characters.
can't wait for next Wednesday though. Like it's just I like
Right? Like
them in the middle of
it's
the week,
awesome to be able to do a midweek show and just be able to talk about it right away and not have to wait for the weekend.
right? Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
All right. Well, on that note, we're right about an hour, 5 hour, 10 minutes. Any last
Yeah.
minute things you want to talk about?
No, just Loki's been a great show. Definitely go back and watch WandaVision because it does feel a little different when you know where the direction of the MCU is heading. Can't wait for Black Widow, and then you and I and a group of people are going to try to work on a private screening of Shang-Chi in
Mhm.
September. So it's going to be good. We've got a lot of good stuff coming, man, and I think Shang-Chi is going to be a good show, man. I'm hedging my bets on Eternals because that trailer looks dope as fuck, and I think it's going to be entertaining. I am only a little worried because the people that are looking for problems with everything are already trying to punch holes in the Eternals because if they intervene, why didn't they intervene during Infinity War? Why didn't
Yeah.
they intervene during Endgame? Like, what's the story? Marvel's not stupid, guys. They have a plan. They're not just gonna throw
Yeah. I'm just more
out there.
concerned it's more going to be a bunch of characters nobody gives a shit about. Like, and like
That's yeah,
we said that about Guardians, but like the cast that they threw in with those characters immediately made them lovable.
yeah, that's
So
true. That's
did
true.
not Richard Madden's fine and all, but like, is he a sellable dude? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is he Chris Pratt? Because I know Kit Harington's not now.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of knows that now. I don't know.
Yeah, that guy's milquetoast as fuck. So
Yeah, you know what I mean?
he,
Like, obviously, you got Angelina
not-
Jolie and a bunch
yeah,
of other great other character actors, too, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting test for the MCU to
yeah,
see
I
what
agree. I
characters
agree.
people stick with, where they spin things out, you know?
But they have to keep expanding on the cosmos portion of it
Well, they
because
have to, yeah.
there's a lot of depth in terms of the storytelling with the cosmos Marvel storylines. So yeah, they have to go there. But I'm very excited about what's coming in the next few weeks. Definitely want to wrap up Loki. By the time we talk about it, we'll be heading into the finale.
Yeah.
And then we have not long after that, a couple weeks later, we have Black Widow, which I'm very excited about because I want to see the story with the Taskmaster.
Yeah, I want to see them
They're-
do Taskmaster right. That'd be awesome.
yeah, excited about it. Very. And just, I know looks everyone loves her because she's just a hot actress, but I like what she's done with the character. The evolution of Natasha Romanoff has been good, really, really good,
Yeah.
especially through Endgame. I've enjoyed the evolution of her character, and so if it truly is a send off and we're kicking off with a new Black Widow, I've read these comics, I'm cool with it. But I mean, like I said, I would miss her because I thought her interactions with everybody on on the Avengers squads through the movies was good. She was hilarious. There were times where her dry humor was perfect. I thought she was hilarious in the Winter Soldier. I thought she was hilarious in
Yeah,
that movie.
she had a lot of good moments.
Yeah, but yeah, just a lot going on, man. Can't wait for what's coming next. Wrapping up with Loki. We'll see where Bad Batch heads, and maybe we'll squeeze in some Warzone here in a couple days,
Would be
dude.
nice. Yeah, would be nice. I can't wait to drop back into that game after so long without being able to get it to load. It'd be
Yeah,
nice.
right.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. You can follow us over on our Twitters. I'm at MrWartburg. Patrick is at It's Mr. Fusion. Will we try to do this every 2 weeks, maybe every 3, depending on the schedule as we go. Look forward for some stuff. Of course, we talk about a lot of this stuff on Twitter and in our Discord as well. We'll see you there. So if you're listening on any audio feeds, be sure to subscribe there. Leave a review if you can. Helps the algorithm. And if you're watching on live on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe as we post them on both as simultaneously as I can. Well, with how all the editing side works. And yeah, see you in a couple weeks. Bye.